Hi, guys. Okay, so I told you guys that we were going to do some recording this weekend. Well, I was going to do some recording this weekend. And here's the thing I have had people ask a lot about relationships. I'm going to turn this a little. Sorry. Um, so I'm going to kind of just do a little mini series about relationships. There's going to be different aspects. And they're going to be, I'm making them several parts so that it's not one long video that you get bored with, okay? Because I don't want to give you guys long videos every time, okay? So, this is just a hello. This is what we're doing. This is what I'm going to talk about. This is kind of your intro to it. This is your availability to send me any messages that you may have, questions, concerns, thoughts, what you might want to hear about. Just kind of a breakdown of what I'm going to be talking about over the next course of videos. And again, I'm going to try to keep them all 20 minutes or less. So you might see that you're going to get 5 videos or 3 videos, just whatever I need to do to keep it minimal. Relationships are very, very important. And when we talk about relationships, we think of the first thing, intimate relationships with your spouse, with your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. But what we need to discuss with that is that when we say relationships, there's a multitude of relationships. Your coworkers, your boss, your parents, your significant other, your kids. There's all kinds of relationships, right? So when we talk about relationships, we need to talk about the whole. Because some of what we're going to talk about is just the freaking foundations and fundamentals of relationships. Okay, my relationships with my clients is different than my relationship with my daughter. My relationship with my daughter is different than that of my boyfriend. My relationship with my boyfriend is very different than that of my mom. So I want to kind of hit on all aspects, but the main thing that you guys need to think about is that if we take these foundations, if we take the solidity and the foundation of a relationship, we can build and go from there. So some of these talking points aren't going to work for, across the board. Like, you're not going to talk about your intimate relationships in the bedroom with your mom. So take it where it is, leave it where it is, and piece it together. Okay? So we're going to talk about the foundations. We're going to talk about trust. We're going to talk about communication. We're going to talk about problem solving. We're going to talk about just the struggles and how to work through that. We're going to talk about, expectations and why those are important. We're going to talk about having fun, Those are 6 things that I want to hit on in the next course of a few videos that I really think that we can all gain from and create healthier relationships. I mean, sometimes we hit and miss. Sometimes we have solid relationships. Sometimes we have problems within a relationship. Sometimes we have to learn how to fix relationships. So it's all going to be different. And there might be something that I hone in more than I do another. So that's why it might be, 2 topics in one. I'm just not sure yet. But whatever it may be, that's how I'm planning to set it up. My goal is to have 3 out this week. And if I go into more, then I will probably put more out the next week while I'm gone in Vegas, if that makes sense. So that's where I'm at today. That's what I'm doing today. That is my goal and my plan, and it's because relationships are very near and dear to me. I've had some amazing relationships, and I've had some amazing learning experiences from relationships, good or bad. It's a relationship that either failed me or it has, made me who I am today. I think that it's important to understand that many of the foundations will be needed on all aspects of relationships, because the foundation is what, of course, makes that relationship. I think it's also important to understand that when we talk about relationships, you guys, not everything is easy. Relationships are hard. I've heard people tell me, well, especially with spousal relationships or, your significant other. If a relationship is good, then it's easy. No, that's not necessarily true, y'all. Normally what makes that relationship solid and good is that 2 people have invested in each other enough to want to work through things and to create problem solving strategies and to create a positive communication. And it's, normally been a learning experience. Now, I can tell you just from my experience in my relationship, William and I don't argue a lot. We truly do not. It's just something that neither one of us do. We are not arguers. Um, Now, we can get into some good heated debates. Like, I'm not going to say we don't have debates. But as far as just downright arguing, I mean, to the point of our biggest arguments are, very, and I wouldn't even call them arguments. It's, talking about it. And sometimes talking about things makes it hard. Therefore, people call it an argument. I always say, if we can't get through this disagreement, then that's sad. Because I feel like it's more of a disagreement than it is an argument. Um, and the one thing that I like about our kind of a relationship is that I was able to be very honest with him up front, that comfort and trust was there. So I think what I'll do is just kind of freehand tell you about me in this first video and my experiences, kind of, like touch the edge. And then, as we go into each different category of this video, then I'll go deeper. I'm going to try to keep relationship conversations to myself, about me, because I don't want to call anybody out that definitely does not want to be. So I'm going to use me and what I know and my experiences, and that's what it's going to do. So let me just start out with saying this. I will say that my upbringing of family, it was very dysfunctional. My mom was a single mom. We had some real winners in our life, some real trash, let me put it that way, in our life. She married a guy. One guy, I guess, is not horrible, but she married a guy that did a lot of damage for me personally. My biological father was never really, like, we would go visit, but we wouldn't, like, I didn't have a close relationship with my father until right before he passed. My brothers definitely did. I loved my dad because he birthed me. So there's that relationship. My mom and I very close. My mom had, I'm just going to say, maybe a mental health crisis when I was about 15, 16. And my life kind of changed altogether. A lot of things happened that shouldn't have happened. A lot of strain on that relationship. And I can remember very dark times, but I can remember, like, she was still very present for, big things like my graduation and things like that. So we never stopped talking or anything. It's just that our relationship was kind of hindered, and not by her choice, guys. My mom would have never did that if she wasn't in the mental health crisis that she was in. And it was a very rough point, but I think that relationship is probably what guided me throughout the rest of my life. Okay. I know that I started very young. My first true intimate relationship was with a guy, and it was not a healthy relationship at all. Just bad situation, a great learning experience though. A lot of trust issues came from that first relationship. My relationship with my brothers at this point became very, I would say, damaged. Only because I didn't make them a priority in my life because I was so codependent on another person. So there's that. I would also say that from there, probably I could say that I grew a lot, but not enough. Like, I still had some bonding issues and stuff like that, all the things. My relationships were very sketchy. I had a few solid friends, and I had some kids that I had nannied for that were solid in my life. But at that point, everything went to shit, like, I lost the kids that I nannied for. My relationship was over. My family, like my brothers, were thinking like we weren't close at all. My mom and I were kind of damaged at the time. Well, then I got, away from that situation, and it wasn't until like I think I was 21, 2002, whatever that would be. I ended up pregnant and I ended up miscarrying. And I remember moving in with my mom again. And that by that time she was married again. And that guy accepted me. Like, he didn't really meet me prior to that, but on and off, like, but that guy accepted me very well. And he nurtured, he was like the dad that I had not had. Okay. I'm very close to him. And that relationship was very healthy. He was good for my mom at the time, blah, 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 blah. Well, again, things change, and my mom got a divorce and moved to California with my father, like the guy that I call my father, and I'll kind of reach out on that a little bit. But my mom moved away, so there I was again, just kind of hanging in the limb. Me and my brother still weren't close. But what happened is that I had moved to Texas because I met a man and life was supposed to be grand. And so I go to Texas, and now I can't even really tell you his full name. Don't really know much about him. Like, a big memory lapse. And I was just there to get away from, I ran. Like, that's the only reason I went to Texas, was to get away from the current situation and to kind of be independent. I thought I got a good job and I loved my job, and, I worked for a bank over the phone and life was good. So anyways, that went to shit too, y'all. Like, of course it did, because I didn't take care of any of the baggage from previous. So this relationship went to shit. And I moved back to Oklahoma, where I've been ever since. So it was only at that point, like 2006, I, got my own place and I was out on my own for the first time. Like, I no men, no mom, no nothing, just single old Diane. And I am telling you, life was crazy. Me and my brothers were talking again, which was very, very nice, like very warm. One brother was. The other brother I really hadn't spoke to yet, but the one brother was back in my life, and he lived close, and that was an amazing relationship that bonded at that time. And I felt like I could trust him, and like we had a good thing. And that was the first time I remember feeling that since we were way little, so that was good. So that was, a foundation of that relationship was very solid and strong. Fast forward from there, I find my husband. I move in with my husband shortly after moving. Like, I might have been at my apartment 6 months, maybe. I don't know. But I moved in with my husband. My boyfriend. And, y'all, I thought life was great. Like, we got married, and I became a mom, bonus mom, and I became a wife, and life was so great. And I started going to school, and that's how that all started. That's what happened. And I think when I say my learning experience started in the best of me right there, because at that time, y'all, I was talking to my brothers, I was talking to my father, I was talking to my mom. All these relationships were, healthy and going and thriving, and I had a great man, and I had an amazing son, and I had amazing in-laws, and I had all the things, and life was perfect, right? Like, I had my little picket fence, and my kid, my family, and everything was great. Shortly after we got married, he told me he did not want kids. That kind of put my first damper on it, and I should have ran then, but I didn't. I stayed. From there, we bought a house and all the good things. And again, family was coming. Like, we were going to their house, and they were coming to our house, and we were doing Christmas, and my mom was flying in. Like, life was really great. Like, all these relationships were rebuilding, and I had never been happier in those moments, that I felt whole. And then here comes the divorce, like, rah. So there you go. Now, what I didn't tell you at this point, because I just remembered, was that I met William back in like 2002 or 3. Like, I knew him way long ago. And I don't know what happened there. I do, but we're not going to blast all that information. But let's just say we didn't end up together. So that's how life fast forwarded today. But anyways, my marriage went to shit. I was thriving in school. My divorce is what shook my core and really made me stop and think and evaluate my situations. You know, like my best friend was there, my mom was there, my brothers were there. Like I had a solid support team, but it never, for the longest time, it never cured that pain of I lost being a wife and I lost being a mom and I lost being, I lost so much that I couldn't get over it and put me into a really big depression. So what I did is I started doing what my therapist said, focus on something positive. So I threw all my energy and all my investment into being a student and to be a hardworking student. And then I got my kiddo, my daughter. And I was able to invest my time into her and dump all my attention into her when I wasn't working. Because I'm telling you, I worked a lot, so she probably didn't get enough time. And I'm sorry for that. But it gave me a thrive. It gave me a thrill again. And life was amazing. And I can remember laying in bed at night crying because of those relationships, those challenges, those trials and tribulations, those nights of just praying to God, like, please just let me figure out life and let me figure out what a true relationship and foundation is. Let me figure out what you need from me, like true conversations with God. Well, then my father, my mom's latest husband, like, whew, this is where I'll get emotional. Like, I despise that man when he took my mom to California. Like, what the hell are you doing? She doesn't need to go to California, and she doesn't need to be away from her kids. And I just despised him so much for that. Because even though our relationship wasn't the best, like, she was there, and I knew she was okay, and I could put my eyes on her, and it was hard to trust him, to know that he would take care of her, right? So, needless to say, he ended up being the biggest supporter in my life, and he encouraged me every step of the way. Like, he was my biggest cheerleader. And so, he's probably the reason that I started opening my eyes to trusting people. He's the reason that at times I felt safe when I didn't feel safe by myself, when I felt like I was failing in school, I would pick up the phone and I would call him and I would talk to him about my studies, and like, he's the reason. And very cherished man for me, like, very cherished man. Well, also saying that, like, he was so good for my mom, like, to see her growth through that, like, her mental health improved, her life quality improved. So, of course, that's why I cherish that. Now, I did lose my father 6 months after I got married. So, like, in 2008, I lost my father. And at that point, like I said, we weren't really close. But up to that point, 6 months or a year prior, probably, we'd been talking a lot. And I was able to mend that relationship. And I think that's what made it so easy to say goodbye to him, like, I had made amends with him, and I knew where our relationship was, and it was hard, but it was good to have those conversations that were hard, My dad, my father, Jim, was part of the reason that was okay, like, this guy, like, my mom's husband, just picked me up and took me under his wing, and he loved and cared for me, and that's probably why I am who I am today. He told me one day, like, I was like, so what did you used to do? And I asked him, like, what do you do? Because when they lived in Enid, he's like, I help drive kids that are in the HS system, around, and just his heart. He was retired Air Force. He'd seen so much in life. And the one thing he did is he valued and doted and cared for my mom. Like, it was amazing, you guys. So that's why it's so emotional. And I'm sorry I got emotional, but he really gave me the idea of what I needed in life. So when he passed, I was very single and I was very much going to school and I was doing all the things, I was doing my internship and I was staying busy and I was doing well and life was just really good. And then and then when he passed, my mom ended up moving here. She moved in with me actually because that was always the plan, like I would take care of my mom forever. Because that's what you do. You take them in and you love them and you care for them and you only want the best for them. And I can look at her today and I can tell you that we didn't always have it easy. But I would not trade anything to know, the trials, tribulations, the issues that we had to be where we are today. Like, I feel like we're better today than we ever have been. And I feel like it's because she has been loved and cared for, and she was able to figure out what a solid relationship is, like I'm just skimming over the top of things. There's a lot of damage that's been done, that I haven't even touched. And the point of that is that she was able to live a life, like I was able to see how a man treats a woman appropriately. And I was able to see how a woman treats a man. And I was able to experience that, and it was probably the best thing for my soul because prior to that, besides my grandma and grandpa, I had never seen a working relationship. I mean, never had I seen that, I don't think, besides for my grandparents. And it was very good for me. When I got divorced, my dad was like, you can do this. You don't need a man. We got this. You're going to do it. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do it. And he was just the supporter. So when I got divorced, guess what? Life continued. And I was able to make amends with that. And again, I learned a lot from that. Like the worst time of my life turned into the best time of my life. And, after I dated, probably 2 years after, I didn't date for a while. I was like, I'm not dating. And then when I dated the worst person ever for me. And I don't know that he taught me anything besides the fact that, damn, dating is scary. So when William and I reconnected, because he texted me while I was at the casino one night, and I came over, Super Bowl night, and I came over and we hung out. And I mean, I'm telling you, I had the best conversation of my life. And it was amazing. It was a great feeling. But if I was to tell you things have been perfect since then, I would be lying. Like, he has a past and I have a past, and my past is rocky and his past is rocky. And so when I go to an intimate relationship, when I talk about spousal units, don't think that we've always been perfect. Don't think that we're perfect now, because we're not, but we're real. And that's why I want to talk about these things. I want to talk about what is important and what is a trial and tribulation, what is all the communication, what is our expectations. Like, this is where we're at today because we've been able to do this, and we've had a few breakups. Bless our souls. We've had a few breakups, but here we are. Now I tell him he just keeps me because I have a Chandler under his name. That's funny because it's doing nothing really yet, but one day it's going to take off, right? So, I have friendships that are amazing. Like, my best friend, I've known her since I was like 16, like, she's been there. Some of my best friends, that I've currently met, like, I have a girl that I work with. I love her to death and would do anything for her. And I've only known her a few years, you know? But it's because on every level of relationship, I have the same outlook, you know? It's all important. So, I don't know. Sorry I got emotional, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about relationships, and we're just going to put it out there. And if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have suggestions or anything that you want to hear, please put it in the comments. Send me an email. Anything. I did link my email. Well, I didn't link it. I put it in the description on YouTube, and unfortunately, it's not right. Like, it's not hyperlinking, so you can't just click and go. But copy and paste, and it'll let you go in and email me, and it goes straight to my phone. Okay? So that's what our goal is. We're going to have a great little mini sessions here. I want to thank you guys again. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And stay tuned because this is going to be a great week or 2 weeks. So thank you guys. Bye for now. And I'll be back with the next one. When I